Hello, one and all, and welcome to the 244th episode of the Voluntary Viewing podcast, coming to you on Monday, February 12th, 2024. Andrew, was this a good football season? What makes something a good football season? Did that Super Bowl retroactively make this not a great football season?
It was a weird football season like
Okay.
that. I think everyone's kind of in consensus with that. This was a weird football season full of very weird games, really weird storylines of like players being better than they should have or not being as good as they thought. You know, coaches being fired at weird times,
Yeah.
other coaches being held on to way longer than they should have been. Uh,
Belichick.
yeah, Belichick, Ron Rivera, um, that sort of shit. But also at the same time, there was a lot of like really bad, rough situations. Like everyone was kind of in agreement that this season has been really bad. It's not just like a narrative thing that the refereeing has been, the officiating has been poor. It's
I
been very inconsistent. There's been a lot of really bad game changing calls, more so than usual. Um,
kind of crystallized in that I thought overly litigious Super Bowl game, but then also, I mean, that trick play that the 49ers did was cool. There were about five different simultaneous penalties that should have prevented it from happening, but, it was cool.
yeah, I mean the I remember seeing right before the game started, they were like, let's get an idea of what the officiating crew is like, because we live in a world where like that matters. Like the officials have put themselves in the storyline on purpose because they want to be more important. So like, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if there were a lot of like sports gambling things going on of like, yo, put a bet on how many penalties John Smith is going to call. That sort of shit. Now everybody knows John Smith, he calls the third most offsides penalties in the league, but he also doesn't call holding as much as the average, like, weird shit like that. They're too involved in the game and nobody likes it, and it's a thing that needs to change.
Mm.
But not a lot of penalties in the Super Bowl, and everyone kind of knew that this was a officiating crew that wouldn't throw a lot of penalties. So that's good, let them play. It's just that it has to be consistent. If you have one crew in one game that says we're going to let them play, we're not going to call a lot of ticky-tacky fouls, that has to be the way that the entire sport is officiated every single game. You cannot have this like players are trying to get a feel for what the refs are going to call. Like, just they need to be able to play the fucking game.
Was that intentional grounding call overturned?
Which one? The one on
Or
Mahomes?
Mahomes, yeah,
Early in the
or
game?
yeah,
I don't think it was. I think it stood. I
that's
mean,
weird. That's a weird thing to get called, period, let alone in the Super Bowl, but okay.
intentional grounding?
Or like no
That's
eligible what?
that's that's a legitimate ass penalty. It gets called all the time.
Really? What do
Yeah.
I know?
If you're outside of they call it the tackle box, like it's the hashes where, you know, it's kind of an imaginary space, so it's weird, but like
Mm,
from like where your left tackle to where your right tackle is, that lineup on the field, you cannot throw the ball away while inside of that space.
mm,
So if you get out of the pocket and you have to throw the ball away just to nobody, fucking whatever, that's fine. But if you immediately, you get the ball, you see there's a free rusher, and you throw it into the ground, or you like throw it into the stands, or throw it on the side of the field where there isn't a receiver, that's a penalty. Because that should have been a sack. That is the
right.
kind of the theory, or like the meaning with an intentional grounding is that it's a cheap way for a quarterback to avoid getting sacked when basically the refs are saying, no, that defensive player earned the sack. You don't get to just throw it away to fucking nobody, even though
Right.
they earned the sack on you.
I
It is a strange penalty until you kind of understand the like meaning of it.
I might have been confusing that with like Like what's the one where there's no receiver where like you're just throwing it away and then it's like, well, there was
Yeah, it's intentional grounding.
all right. I thought that wasn't called very often.
I mean, it's not called multiple times a game, but
Yeah.
like I think I see intentional grounding called like the majority of football games, like at least half of them.
I'm getting Mandela affected right now, but yeah, it's just I so I don't know what makes something a good football season then. I was asking like actual sports people on Blue Sky about this, and the most resounding answer I could get was, well, if the primetime games are good more often than not, like it's a good season of football. And I'm kind of like, that's scheduling more
Yeah,
so than it is
yeah.
like the sport. This was a good year for the game.
I think that it's like having like the primetime games be good is part of having a good football season because those are the games that everybody's watching. But like yeah, the other games that are at noon on
Hmm.
a Sunday, can also be really fucking good. Like they have just as much potential to be a good game. It's just fewer people see them, so they don't
Right.
really count that in the narrative of the season. I will say I think this was a good football season. There's a lot of underdogs, a lot of weird storylines. Aaron Rodgers didn't play, so that was great. Um, like it was I think it was a good season. It was just super fucking weird.
I mean,
Um,
Aaron Rodgers inching into a Victorian style madness is definitely the most entertaining Aaron Rodgers has been to me in a while.
that dude is a fucking weirdo. Like regardless of how you feel about him as a player or a person, like there should be no denying that at the very least he's a fucking weirdo.
Do you? Oh yeah, so this is like a genuinely interesting question I've heard circulating. Do you think he always would have metastasized to this level of weirdo? Or like, do you think, for example, if he landed the Jeopardy gig, which like it's kind of a prerequisite that you be the most normcore dude on the planet if you're gonna host Jeopardy, do you think this just never comes out or it never gets this bad? Or do you think it is,
I
no, this is like Aaron Rodgers' essence at this point?
it's something that's always been there inside of him and like most people just kind of ignored, but um he wasn't very public until a few years ago and like I don't know if this is actually what made it happen or if like he had some sort of revelation while he did it, but that first time he did ayahuasca,
Hmm.
he said like basically that was what made him decide to like stop holding his feelings inside of him and be more like public and go on the shows and tell people how he feels about shit. I don't think that changed anything about him. I think it just made him more uh inclined to tell people like what was going on inside of his brain. But like he had like fucking alien sightings and shit when he was in
Yeah.
college. He uh so that sort of weirdness has been around for a while. I remember reading this has to be like 6 years ago at this point, an article about him that everyone kind of thought was just a hit piece,
Uh,
which turns out in retrospect it was actually just really good reporting. Because like this I think the writer's name was Tyler Dunn, or that might be somebody else, but um he he like basically interviewed a bunch of Aaron Rodgers' old like teammates that weren't, very publicly pro Aaron Rodgers, like, minor teammates and shit like that. And we're like, this guy's fucking weird. He talks about chemtrails all the time. He thinks 9/11 was an inside job, but like nobody corroborated it. And like most of the people on his like PR team and his teammates were like, oh, let's put a lid on that. So they called it bullshit. And they said it was bad reporting. And I think the writer actually ended up losing his job over it or like moving to a different outlet.
mm,
And it like he like publicly like asked for an apology after all this Aaron Rodgers shit came out because he's like, this was all absolutely fucking true. This guy's a freak. So yeah, I think it's always been there. It's just he hasn't been very public about it. And maybe the frustration of not getting to the Super Bowl year after year after year, like maybe like slowly broke him down. It made him more bitter, and like people going after him online
mm.
for his now public beliefs, probably made him entrench himself more. Maybe he wasn't always as malicious as he is now, but I think that shit was always there.
That, yeah, that's the common read I've seen as well. Also did a little bit of Googling. Tyler Dunn is a sports writer. At the time, I think he was writing for Bleacher Report when that came out.
That sounds right. Yeah.
And if people want to support him and his writing, he currently has a Substack called Go Long. And yeah, I think I might subscribe to that after this if he's telling it like it is in an actually like good and like publicly beneficial way. Um speaking of writing, speaking of writers, I'm one of those. I had an article go up on IGN, an outlet we have ridiculed many times on this podcast, but I'm still enthused to have been paid to write for them. And if you'll indulge me, Andrew, world, um, can I go through the comments that people left on this article?
The the article about like the 1980s Japanese book series that led to the Persona video games.
Yes,
Okay,
I,
yeah.
I want that was the premise of the article, and I want people to know because I feel like people who aren't in the content creation space, aren't in the digital media space, don't like they have an idea. Oh, you're supposed to like listen to feedback. You're supposed to like internalize what people are saying, and like this is how you improve by getting like a good criticism. Let me show y'all what I'm dealing with. The first comment. This was left within 10 minutes of the article going live. I actually just read half of that. Can't remember the last time I've said that about an IGN article. Very informative.
That look, that is praise. It's it's somewhat backhanded, but like that is praise.
I do think they know that they just did negging. I don't.
I don't dude, they want you. They want you real fucking bad.
Then the person like who replied immediately after them just left 7 vomiting emojis. Someone responded to that with no. Did the word no. Then we got a couple like genre specific stuff that I won't bore people with. Someone did say, great article. IGN needs more content like this, and I'm appreciative of that one.
Yeah, was that commenter Pukas writer or whatever?
No, no, that was Mando 44646. I don't know if that's random numbers or if that's also a Star Wars reference, but thank you, Mando. But then the next response was, it's a game. Not sure why bring politics into it.
That has to be sarcastic. It has to be.
I They also left like 4 spaces between a period and the next word. So maybe, hopefully. Someone voicing solidarity and that it is bonkers that they chose to take a woman playable character out of the game in this remake, which I still think is bonkers. I think I used baffling in the article, but I think I wanted to use bonkers, and my editor maybe correctly pushed back on that. Um, yeah. Oh yeah, and then me just and then someone saying I was wrong to say that people have criticized this franchise for not being great towards women and queer people. And then them linking to all of the articles that I used to source that complaint and being like, nah, these don't count. Like they quote, yeah, I don't know. The internet is weird. Don't look at comments. I just did
Look,
this time because fuck it. But yeah.
yeah, I mean, look, dude, as far as internet comments go, like this is winning. Like this is the best that anyone could possibly hope for in internet feedback. Like good fucking job, man.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And also, yeah, okay. In my low-key quest to find the worst comment sections on the internet, IGN, not at the top of that list, actually. Thankfully. Good for you guys for curating that audience. A lot of people say YouTube. I think it is manga pirate sites. Those
I
uh those ain't good.
I don't know, dude. Jade shows me like the comment section of TikToks all the time.
Yeah.
It is bad. Capital B bad on
Cool.
there.
Maria, she says hi, by the way. Maria, yeah, shows me Instagram reel comments and like anytime it is one of those am I the asshole like style videos, like the podcast where like
Yeah.
people go through that, it is boy, people will always agree with the person who is wondering if they are the asshole, regardless if they are an asshole or not. They are like, no, you're not an asshole. You were right to not want to give your stepchildren any of the money you got from your grandfather. Like, yeah, keep that for the biological child. Spot. But what's not fucked is Sony's first state of play of 2024. Actually, it kind of is. And like
It
this
was pretty
and
fucked. I mean,
yeah, I the video game landscape is so rapidly different, rapidly changing from when we were getting into video games that I am like not dude, I got whiplash.
ah,
Death Stranding 2 on the beach has a subtitle, has a trailer.
as
He's
a
doing it
release
again.
year, like
Yeah, next
it's
year.
dude, this is probably the weirdest Death Stranding trailer that I've seen. Like a a game series that has a dozen trailers, all of which are so intentionally like obtuse and obscure and strange and off-putting.
Mm.
This is probably the biggest offender. This is so fucking weird. What's with the weird like Joker robot zombie glam rock Troy Baker?
Do we know what Higgs looked like in the first game? Did we? I know we choked him out, but
Yeah, he took his mask off.
okay. Oh, and he was normal. Okay, well, he was fucking
He was
like
a guy. Like he
Jesus-y under there, but like still okay. But no, now he's a clown man with an electric guitar.
yeah, a double electric guitar.
And he fights a baby that's hacking a robot samurai. I
Supposedly.
do you do you think Kojima knows that the fucking hand scarf that Quiet is wearing is like quickly becoming like a kink icon that everyone wants that. Everyone
So
wants the choke me
I
hands.
I fucking hated that. That
Yeah.
it's not choke me hands. It's like gasping, covering your mouth hands. It's a gas mask that just looks like hands, but also is like completely sentient and like free
I
moving. It is
lit
horrifying. And then
I
the
thought
stop motion keychain guy. What the fuck
yeah.
is with that? Why?
I saw so many animators popping off online being like, okay, yeah, and I want this puppet animated in like 12 frames per second while everything else is 60. And just people dying, having to figure out how to do that. To go back to the hands for a second, I thought we had run out of cool ways to light a cigarette, but just hacking a glove on your neck and do it with their thumb. Yeah, all right, we found a new cool way. Is Fragile not old anymore?
Yeah, I don't know because like it looked like her hand looked normal, and then she touched the floating ghost lady
Yeah.
and got old again. I don't know.
I'm calling it now. That floating ghost lady is gonna be Lou from the
Yeah,
future or something. Like, yeah.
yeah, or Lou just grew up really fast from going to the beach or some shit. I don't know.
Um, was I forget at the end of Death Stranding, did Lou stop being magic? Is that a real plot? I remember something happened with her.
After she came back to life, which I think some people like interpreted as Amelie like did him a favor
Right.
by like sending Lou back to the land of the living or something. But
Uh,
after that happened, the the Death Stranding was over.
right.
So, like he walked out into the rain and it was fine. Like the time fall, was meaningless
Yeah.
now. Like I don't know if that like ended everything or if just Timefall or whatever. I think it kind of seemed like the Death Stranding was over.
Right. But like the Death Stranding was the cataclysm, right? Like that was the everything's gonna get old and end now, not just the I think the Timefall might still be that
It was
might
a
be
symptom.
independent.
The Death Stranding was like the whole situation. It wasn't like the singular event. It was the whole thing counted as the Death Stranding. The
Ah,
BTs, the oil monsters, the Timefall, all that shit was
hmm.
part of the Death Stranding.
I Here, the weird thing about Death Stranding, and I don't know if I can say this about any other video game. I remember the themes of that game. I remember the politics and the points that it was making so well.
But the plot is fuzzy.
The specific detail, I don't know. I was Lou Sam? Oh no,
No.
because Lou's a girl. Lou is
Lou was just a baby.
no, but she was Hideo Kojima's best friend, the Dutch guy, his daughter, Cliff, Cliff's daughter, right?
No. What? You mean
No,
Mads Mikkelsen?
Mads Mikkelsen, yes.
Yeah, no. Sam is is Cliff's son.
Oh,
And
okay,
that was the whole bait and switch is that you kind of thought because he was like, I want my BB. Like Sam thought that he was trying to take Lou. But the whole thing was that like it turns out the memories that Sam was experiencing, in the flashbacks, that wasn't Lou.
right.
When he would connect to Lou, it like made him in touch with his
Hmm.
baby self. And so he remembered like what happened there. And so Sam is Cliff's son
That's right.
who grew up.
And it wasn't clear at the start of the game that the president of the United States, who is also his love interest, that is
I
his
don't think it
adoptive mother
and sister.
and sister.
I don't think it was his love interest. That was the thing, is that like
Okay.
it was his sister, but the vibes were weird. The president of the United States is his adopted mom and adopted sister, but weird vibes on both ends.
Yeah. And that's why they fridge her so quick in the game like that. We don't need to explore that. We don't need to get into these details.
Yeah.
Except that we kind of spend the rest of the game getting into those details. Um, so yeah, that game's coming out in 2025. But Kojima is also making a new action espionage game called Physant that
Oh, it has a name? I didn't know
yeah,
it had a name.
uh that people are describing, he is describing as kind of going back to Metal Gear, like doing a new Metal Gear without the baggage of that franchise, without that being a Konami owned franchise, which a lot of people are excited about this, but I'm kind of like, hey, Death Stranding feels like such a natural evolution of both the themes and gameplay of the Metal Gear games that I don't know if this is the best.
I disagree because I
Okay.
think at its core, Death Stranding is not supposed to be an action game. And I really hate the sequences in that game where it makes you shoot guns and shit. Like,
Yeah.
for one thing, I don't think it's very good at doing it, but two, it kind of messes with the themes and like the rest of the game that I think is really good.
Boss
Uh,
fights, it's better, but when you're just taking
yeah,
out like jobbers, it's a little, well,
yeah.
this is a different video game. Yeah.
Jade asked me, like, it was like 20 minutes before that trailer came out. Like, I was playing a video game and, I was shooting people. And she's
I
like,
could.
how come all video games have guns? Like, why aren't there any other like video games that don't? I'm like, well, that's not true. Like, lots of video games don't have guns. And like, I play a lot of those games. I'm like, you play a lot of those games. And she's like, yeah, that's true. And I said like Death Stranding, for example, is like one of my favorite games of the last few years. And like it's not really an action game. Like you have the
Mhm.
option to like do some shooty stuff, but it's really not necessary and it's like not very fun. So like, hopefully the new game like really gets like far away from that. And the first thing that happens in that trailer is Sam walks into his room and quiet or not quiet. Fragile is like, And here's the gun room, Sam. It's the room for all of your guns.
I in this game, like they're expanding the network to Mexico or Canada.
Mexico.
Yeah, I
Maybe other places too. I don't know. They specifically mentioned Mexico,
I
but
am I'm curious how they do a hard reset, or if yeah, this is more of a Jedi Fallen Order thing where it's like, oh no, yeah, you get all the shit. It's just that there's more shit now, and like now it's Mexican oil monsters, which are tougher.
yeah,
Um, Stellar Blade, aka Dumb Near Automata, got a new trailer.
dumb near.
It boy, if you want the sexy lady from Near Automata, but none of the progressive politics or themes that make a character looking like that more okay in a video game, Stellar Blade has you covered. I don't know. I saw some reviewers. I saw some reviewers talking about this game, being like, "Yeah, this will probably be fun. This will probably be whatever." And it's like, wow, you guys have really settled for like what this medium should be, what art should be. And I'm saying this as someone who genuinely like Nier Automata, but it's like, hey, if you want the dumb Starbucks version of Nier Automata, Stellar Blade, perfect for you. Well, there's a new trailer for the Silent Hill 2 remake. And a PT style short Silent Hill game titled The Short Message just dropped. Through totally legal and legitimate means, I played the first hour of Silent Hill 2 over the weekend. First one is a stronger opening. And I was a little surprised by that because I had heard that Silent Hill 2 was supposed to be the best one in that series. But
Huh.
yeah, a little bit of a miss from me so far. There's a new trailer for a game called Judas from BioShock creator Ken Levine. It just looks like a new BioShock
It
game,
really does. It really does just look like BioShock.
which is fine. Like that's not an issue. The issue is that that game had a notorious production cycle, and for them to like go through several iterations just for it to be like, yeah, let's just make BioShock again is kind of hilarious. um Dragon's Dogma 2 looks sick as hell, gonna be out March 22nd. um Rise of Ronin also out on March 22nd. I'm not gonna play that one, but I do appreciate that there's a piece of media that's like, there's a stereotype in fiction writing where like samurai are depicted as like, oh, we have a philosophy around our blades. We're sword guys. This is sick. This is honorable. When in real life, like the second samurai could get guns, they were like, oh fuck yeah, we can totally suppress the serfs better this way. And I like that this game is acknowledging that.
Yeah.
Until Dawn is getting a remaster also. Yeah. Also, a bunch of Xbox exclusives are maybe coming to PlayStation.
Yeah.
Console wars are over. Uh, I don't. It's so. Are we just not going to be able to like pay money for a product anymore? Is that the trend that like all of commerce is heading in? Because that's what this feels like.
That's definitely what they're aiming for. That is what the I mean, especially Xbox. PlayStation is trying to do it. They're just not very good at it. Like, especially Xbox
Mm-hmm.
is moving towards the game as a live service model
Right.
and like streaming video games and like subscription services. You know, not even just getting rid of like physical media, but like kind of getting rid of the idea of purchasing
Mm-hmm.
even a digital item and saying, this is mine. I own this. Like you get a service and maybe it goes away at some point. Like, and if you stop paying the like subscription, you don't get access to it anymore.
Which is, it's weird to see Microsoft still heading in this direction after the television and film industry had a reckoning over the summer about how not
It's
sustainable
working.
that business model is.
It's working with video games, man. It's working better. Like it really is.
I, yeah, and like I understand, like if you're a very specific kind of video game consumer, which is to say a lot more casual of one than what I am, like I get why that's appealing for now, but I don't know, I'm just so cynical about any technology that's like framed as like disruptive, as like, well, okay, this is just going to turn into a scam eventually, like the way Uber was, like the way I Netflix and other subscription services are. I don't know, it's weird, and I guess it's especially weird that like Xbox doesn't have to put out a console anymore, you know? Like the whole thing with the Xbox One was them framing it as like this is going to be your like entertainment system. Like this is going to be like everything you want to watch, everything you want to play is going to be through Xbox. And then smart TVs took off dramatically. So my money is like Xbox isn't going to put out another console, probably. They're just going to try to get like Game Pass on every smart TV. And either through like, I don't know, TVs basically being medium power computers now, or through like being able to stream or live play games remotely, like just be that's how they get over like graphical fidelity issues. That's how they get over hardware issues. And that's
Yeah, I mean, like PlayStation is trying to do some stuff like that with mobile, like the weird PlayStation streaming, whatever it was
yeah,
called, that we kind of talked about, like who the fuck
that
is
was
this for?
that was
I th
bad. That was a sunk cost fallacy project.
yeah, I think that there's going to be a lot of iterations of like them trying different things, and maybe in a couple of years, maybe you're right. I know Phil Spencer said like maybe even yesterday, like, hey guys, we will continue making consoles. We're not going to stop making consoles. I don't know if that's true or not, but yeah. I mean, there's probably going to be a bunch of weird shit that comes out in the next decade. Maybe video games stop. I don't know.
I it and I will say another weird thing that's like been tangential to this conversation. I don't like a lot of people reporting on this. It's like framed as like an Xbox versus Sony PlayStation thing. And like I understand Nintendo in many ways is its own weird beast, but as far as like commerce goes, hey, they seem to be doing great. Just being like, yeah, we make video games and things you can play video games on, and that has worked really well for us this past couple of years at least. And I don't know if that'll hold with rumors of a Switch 2 circulating now more than ever, but like I'm much more inclined to that than like I'm gonna get Xbox Game Pass and then not play most of the stuff on there and feel bad about it. Like, God, I'm gonna let an app give me FOMO. That's fucked up. Um, no. IGN writers unionized. That's dope.
Hey,
I hope that has a ripple effect. I don't have a lot to say about this other than like every workplace should maybe be unionized, but super cool that more unions in digital media as digital media is becoming increasingly difficult to work in. Jon Stewart is coming back to The Daily Show.
yeah, tonight actually.
Ah, topical.
Just Mondays.
Ah, but someone else the rest of the week, or is it a 1 a week show now?
Well, what they've done ever since Trevor Noah left is they have like each week there's a different host.
Oh,
It's like a guest host, and like sometimes it's like regular contributors, sometimes it's just like random comedians or like politicians or actors or whatever. But yeah, it's been like a different host every week for like, I mean, when did he leave? Like 2 years ago.
mhm.
And so Mondays now will be Jon Stewart, and then the rest of the week will probably be that rotating weekly host.
I thought Jon Stewart left like 8 years ago. I thought
No,
we
no,
were in
no.
cop.
Trevor Noah.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. That makes sense. I, all right. I mean, that's. I'm glad Jon Stewart is still getting work after his contract with Apple kind of blew up spectacularly. But I don't know, after such a decisive leave and such like end of an era, his departure from the Daily Show was kind of crystallizing maybe some broader changes in like the socio-political landscape. Weird that he's back. I don't know.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I want to see how he aged, I want to see, and like I have a feeling that he'll age pretty well, but like I
Mm,
want to know how he looks in today's landscape.
that's fair. So, The Messenger, a self branded, unbiased news outlet, has shut down. This is typical for media outlets in 2024, but what's interesting in this case is just how woefully mismanaged it was. Uh, with leaders there blowing through 50 million in seed money in less than a year.
Yeah.
Um, so like I know people, I have writing peers who were personally impacted, like they were writing for the Messenger and found out from that New York Times article that they didn't have a job anymore,
Yeah.
which is fucked. But also, yeah, like they reading some of the reporting around this is wild. They bought 3 offices, none of which they needed for a remote and largely distributed news team. Um, Top level executives were making like uh, for a startup ridiculous amounts of money, like established like we're about to be bought out levels of income they were receiving, not hey, we have this amount of money to work with and no more coming our way for the foreseeable future, largely because they had no kind of monetization model that was stable. It is just it's farcical to see this happening.
Hell yeah. I mean, that's robbery. Like that is
Yeah.
someone said, let's make a startup so that we can take all of the seed money, make it look like we're doing a job. And then at the end of the day, we all make $10 million.
That,
Like fuck it, you do that. I would.
right.
Like,
I guess if I could convince like people who have venture capital levels of wealth to like give me money and then like, oh no, sorry, the business fucked up, and I walk away with a couple mil, it's like, well, I'm coming out of this clean.
yeah. Let the
I feel
bean
like maybe there should be a
counters take
lawsuit in
take
there,
care of
but
that shit.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. They probably had to make enough of an effort to make it look like it was just a failed business rather than intentional negligence. But I don't know, man.
And I mean, like, hey, increasingly in this landscape, like if you're a writer and you can get a steady gig for any amount of time, that is better than most writers. But no, it's fucked, and the system should be better. The 2026 Men's World Cup will be held in MetLife Stadium in what is being branded as New York/New Jersey.
It's New
May God have
Jersey.
mercy on our souls.
I was under the impression that the World Cup required, you know, several stadiums to play in, like concurrently as different matches were happening at the same time. Is this all going to take place on one, again, American football field?
I I don't know. I think maybe this is distributed. Maybe there are like auxiliary fields that they'll be playing some of the less eyeball drawing matches, but I don't know, man. We're about to see a lot of like hardcore Europeans experience some of the most American parts of America.
It's also a
And
turf field. Like it's a
yeah,
turf field. It's gonna suck.
to see so many torn ACLs. Ugh, I don't know. This is weird. And I don't know. I feel as I'm nearing the end of The Sopranos, I feel like the slash New Jersey branding on all of this is a Tony Soprano type, like exerting some influence there.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's MetLife Stadium. Both the New York Giants and the New York Jets play in the same stadium that's in New Jersey. Like, I don't need to make that many jokes about it because so many
No.
people already have, but it's like, it's not New York. It's not. There's not enough room in New York. That's fine. Don't call yourself the New York anything. You're the
Hey,
New
get that.
Jersey Jets. That's all
God,
you
that sounds
fucking are.
better.
The New Jersey Jets sounds better. The New Jersey Giants, maybe not so much, but
Nah.
New Jersey Jets, yeah, embrace it. You're a New Jersey team. People in New York City don't like you. That's fine. You guys suck ass. You're not worthy of them. Ignore it. Just
Uh,
embrace how shitty in New Jersey you are.
but what? You know what? Especially after Aaron Rodgers hilariously getting hurt at the start of this season. Yeah, maybe the Jets need to embrace that they're a cursed franchise. Maybe that's better for them, better for all involved.
Yeah,
Get a
it's,
little
it's
sympathy support.
some Madame Zeroni shit. Like,
Ugh. Hey, so I played about 2 hours of Foam Stars, and that game is fucked up.
I do still want to play it. I want to play it with you. I'm not going to play it on my own. I I do want to still see what is fucking going on, but
So
tell
as
me what
a
you mean by fucked up.
so like This is one of the most tonally dissonant pieces of media I have ever experienced.
We're talking about ludonarrative dissonance.
So in the opening, in the mandatory like 20-minute tutorial section, which it doesn't need to be that long, like to the game's credit, like a lot of it's fairly intuitive. Um, a guy is like, "Hey, so you are not killing people in this game, okay? I cannot stress it enough. There is no killing in foam stars. When you do this thing where you trap people in a bubble of foam and then like crash into them full body weight with a surfboard and send them flying through the air. That is chilling. You are chilling them because people get so worked up about foam and being a foam stars that they gotta chill. No killing, not killing. You are chilling them. Um, yeah, real dumb. I don't know. But then there is like this game is taking place like in a fictionalized version of Las Vegas called Bath Vegas because everything in this game is a pun. And so it is just the backdrop of like opulence, of like Las Vegas style, like wealth, like money. But then all of the characters have like very clithy, vaguely progressive personality traits. Like there's one woman who I played as the most because her gun is just its closest thing to a basic assault rifle in the game. Uh, her whole thing is that like she was raised by penguins and she is there because she wants to put an end to global warming. She wants to stop climate change. And it's like,
How are you doing that? Like
yeah,
how is that related to the foam battles? Yeah.
I guess she's gonna make money from the foam battles to put a stop to climate change. But it's like, no, this setting nullifies any positive thing that this character is trying to do because like this setting is the problem. Like this opulent, like the city of Las Vegas should not exist at that scale. Like it is just not conducive to that environment for that many people to be living there like that. And that is like this character should be frustrated with where like all of this with like having to participate in the system that is directly contributing to climate change, but that never comes up. Like that can't be explored because principally this game has to be like, well, this is what the kids want, right? To be rich and famous and vaguely idealistic. Um, there's also a character who is a pop star in this game, and like over one of like the barks, the news clips, the like radio broadcasts that are playing in the background, you hear about her latest single just hit the top of the charts, and it's about inclusivity and overcoming our differences. And it's like, well, what's going no, it can't just be about like those vague ideas. There has to be like some kind of there. And it's like, oh, she was bullied as a child because her body makes the foam that they're shooting out of their guns, which is super weird and kind of Death Strandian. But it's like, I mean, yeah, that's weird, but you are you going to bring this up and not get into like systemic issues like how racism, how excluding like groups of people is codified into laws? Or is this like just a vague generality of why it's bad to be mean to minorities? And also like there are $50 like skins for characters in this game. Like it costs as much as a video game to get a skin for one character in this game. And it's like, what the it feels evil to me that like there are characters in this game who are vaguely dressed up as progressive ideas, ideas a lot of young people hold, but they're just being exploited. These beliefs and identities are just being exploited so that a company can make money. Um, and that's why it's fucked up.
All right.
How's True Detective Night Country?
It's fucked up, man.
Okay, how so?
Um, it's very good. I'll
Okay,
start off by saying that I'm really enjoying it. I only have like one episode left,
all
which
right.
hasn't come out yet, so I'm completely caught up. It's short. It's only 6 episodes, but um, it's Jodie Foster and some other. I mean, she's the famous one. Like I don't know who any of the other actors are, but Jodie Foster is kind of a vaguely racist old bitch cop in
Jesus.
I look, if you watch this show, you would agree. Um in like this mining town in northern Alaska where, it's called Night Country because it's in the part of Alaska that for 6 months out of the year the sun doesn't rise.
Oh yeah.
It's just dark the whole fucking time. And uh her, I wouldn't say partner because they're like at odds most of the time, but they're working together even though they're so different. This young black and indigenous uh police officer who works for a different police force are like, trying to solve this murder uh of like a bunch of scientists at a research station that is somehow tied to a murder of like an indigenous woman who disappeared several years beforehand. And like there's a lot of commentary about indigenous land
Mm-hmm.
and the plight of like indigenous women all over the country, not just Alaska, that like routinely go missing and nobody gives a shit. um and then also police brutality and mental illness, and it is really fucking scary. Like this is a detective, like, crime noir show. It's horrifying. It is a scary horror show. It really leaned into that of like, there's ghosts, maybe. I don't know. Like there's ghosts and shit. It's a scary show. There's like weird cult shit going on. No, it's really good. I'm enjoying it. Uh Jodie Foster kind of getting back to the Silence of the Lambs roots that put
Mm.
her on the map. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. But yeah, it's a good time if
All right.
you want to be spooked and also watch some good acting. Give True Detective a shot.
Did they hot drop the entire season, or have they done like
It's
weekly
it's
releases?
weekly.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I
Huh.
watched I had been waiting to watch the show until I went on this trip so that I could like watch it on the plane.
Okay.
So uh not a show I ended up watching on the plane because it's not appropriate for public viewing when there's like children sitting behind you. But I did watch it over the weekend, the first 5 episodes, so there's one
Nice.
left.
That
Yeah.
is a great that is a great way to spend a sick weekend. Like props
Yeah.
for that. Can you give me a quick ranking of the True Detective seasons? Like
I haven't
best
watched
of
the other ones.
what?
I haven't watched them.
I thought you watched the first season.
Nope.
You
I
gave me that on DVD without watching it.
I got it for you because we watched The Wire together. What was that, freshman or sophomore year of college?
Uh,
And I heard, yo, if you guys like The Wire, you would like True Detective season one. So I bought that for you so that because I thought you might like it, but then you never watched it. And then you moved away, so we didn't watch it together.
uh, okay.
I'll probably give it a watch now that I've watched this season and I
Uh,
liked it so much. I mean, it's an anthology series. Each season is different.
right, right.
So
Huh. Okay. I, I've got a follow up to that. I'm glad you're enjoying Night Country.
that
Um,
country.
maybe we'll talk about this again when Ryan's here, but I just wanted to shout out because when video games do something sick as hell, I want everyone to know that a video game did something sick as hell. That was a dope fight in Baldur's Gate 3 in our last campaign.
Yeah, I think we had both played it once before, and it is a
Yes.
tough fight. Like you've lost that fight, right? You've
Oh,
lost and
yeah.
had to restart it. Yeah. It's got some stakes to it. Like
Hmm.
I don't even know what would happen if you lost that fight and managed to like actually beat the secondary fight that I think you're supposed to lose. But it would be possible to win.
Right.
What happens there? What happens if just fucking everybody dies?
So as I am thinking this out, if everyone dies there, uh, you are locked out of two different characters like quest lines going forward. Um, and I think later on when you do the attack on Moonrise Tower, that is much harder because you're now doing that solo.
Okay, so I haven't gotten to Moonrise Tower before.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's like it is a good fight. It kind of comes out of nowhere. There's some
Mhm.
tough enemies, and then there's like a very specific goal of stop this woman from being taken, despite her bad. Like I don't know if it's an AI thing or if they're just trying to make it more difficult by
Uh,
having her throw herself.
I don't. If we haven't made it clear already, this is the Moonrise Inn fight. That surprise attack with the bird guy and the demons. Um, yeah, my headcanon, especially this is a minor spoiler, but especially with Isabel being a queer character in a lesbian relationship. My headcanon is that she does not like being a high priestess. She does not like being in this religion and too high up in this religion to bail. So she is actively looking for an out. But yeah, no, just that it's really great game design. And like Dungeons and Dragons has really great game design where we kind of won that on accident. Like we came in
Yeah,
as prepared as we could be, but then just little things lining up to be successful. Top of mind is that ice dagger that Gale did, freezing the blood that we didn't realize was on the ground, and then the main
yeah.
bad guy slipping on that, so he
Despite
couldn't
having
just,
wings,
despite having wings, so he couldn't just walk over and like
take her.
bonk Isabel was. Oh my god, that was amazing. And like when it like that emergent narrative gameplay where things are just like lining up and giving you the opportunity to seize on that moment. And it makes it feel real. It makes it feel like something that would happen in an actual sport or real life. And that's cool. That's sick as hell. All right, that's everything on the planning doc. What the hell are we going to call this one?
Uh, uh,
Uh,
uh, Troy Baker and his electric guitar.
Troy Baker and his electric guitar. All right. That'll do it for episode 244 of the Voluntary Viewing Podcast. Troy Baker and his electric guitar. If you like what you heard, like, comment, subscribe. Check us out Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, highlight clips, ActBlue link in the description. Support us on Patreon and join the likes of the terrific Tiffany Cole and Sucky Badger. I'm on Blue Sky. I'm leaving the Twitter place behind me. Follow me on Blue Sky, Lucas DeRuyter. And Blue Sky's free now. Everyone can get in on that. You should get in on that. It's better Twitter. All right. That's all I got. Thank you all for listening and hope you all have a great week ahead. Goodbye.